I
got
wouldn't say
hogs.
I'm homesteading. I would just say, it's like a hobby farm. Because, in my opinion, to homestead, you need to be self sufficient in some aspect more than just, what I've done. I've got chickens, I've got, pigs now with like the
Mhm.
last 2 months. But I've got like 36 chickens, I've got 12 goats, they're just kind of pets. The chickens lay eggs. I'm growing them out, and then they're gonna end up getting processed because I've hatched some out. They're gonna be replaced, and we're building a chicken plucker. But I still don't think we're at that level of homestead yet because everything's just kind of on hiatus. So if it was, there'd be like 6 trees taken down. I'd be getting 12 hours of sun. There'd be 120 raised beds in the yard if it were me.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy, out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana, left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started farm hop life. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and there will be.
This is the Farm Hop Life Podcast, a traveling homestead family. I'm Matt DeRocher. Tonight, my guest is Grant Payne. He is a 21-year-old man. I'm going to call you a man. You're doing way more manly stuff than I am, and that's something.
Thank you.
You did both homeschooling and public schooling, did competition shooting when he was younger, then graduated high school in 2019. Picked up gardening that snowballed into the aspirations to homestead after learning about all the other crap that we eat. Nice. That's I'd say you're doing it, dude.
Thank you.
Since we're doing this in reverse.
Yeah.
People won't know that until we get to the very end.
Which is great.
Okay. Which is fantastic. I like the way that this interview evolved.
It's fitting for my style,
Where are you anyways?
Georgia, North Georgia, Bartow County, Georgia to be specifically.
Okay.
About 45 minutes to 50 minutes north of Atlanta.
Okay. Do you own do you rent or you own a home or?
I live with my parents. We've lived here
cool.
at this property for the last 20 years.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, and we're now looking to move. We're now looking to move.
Why now?
So in Adairsville, about 35 minutes north, we have, 25. We have, my grandmother has 10 acres where her house is, and then a minute down the road, she has 17 acres, and it used to be my great-grandfather's land. He had a lot of land, but then it got broken down into siblings. But this one thing I was probably going to hit on is my great-grandmother's house is about 177 years old. And she didn't build the house. She bought the house, but it has there's a creek that runs through it. It's a branch. It's a branch. It's not technically a creek. It feeds from one creek to another creek. And so it runs through it, and there's 15 acres on that. So if we can get that back, that gives us 47 acres that I can have in my domain that I can bring back and revive and restore, because it's covered in wisteria, Chinese privet, Bradford pear, so many useless trees.
Are they useless?
Oh, absolutely. Wisteria, Chinese privet, Bradford pears, all invasive. Bradford pears, in my opinion, they're used as a decorative. They're just no good. They're brittle, easy to break. They can.
What is
They're just
Bradford pear?
Pyrus caloriana. I learned that this semester in her woody identification.
So it's just like a big flowery tree.
Yeah, it's extremely common in almost every single neighborhood you go down. It's usually Bradford pear, and then like ash leaf maples. The only thing it's good for, it's a hot burning firewood. I would rather replace them with oaks, persimmon, other fruit trees. Open up the space so grass can grow, so you can graze it through cattle, through like a savanna style area.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because it's so thick. There are Chinese privet hedge. You know, they're now trees that have been there for 20 years that are bigger than my leg.
Oh, that's pretty nice. So, are you an only child?
No, I'm a second child. My oldest sibling is my sister.
Gotcha. I didn't know if like you were going to be like the sole heir of all this land that you're.
Well, yes, but no.
Your sister doesn't have any interest in it?
She really doesn't have an interest as far as I'm concerned at the moment, no.
Gotcha. And I suppose we can get into this a little bit later. Like, I mean, you got into gardening like through your parents or?
No. By the time I started gardening, everybody who would have loved to see me garden and grow all died. My great-grandmother, my grandfather, my other grandfather, none of them were alive to see that. I currently have one living grandparent, and I kind of got started because, which again, we can talk about this, is my Nana went on hospice. So I graduated high school December 19, and I had 14 years too much of school already, and I already been in college. I didn't want to go back, and so I was like, look, I need a break. I'm done. I need a break. And so that next February, I ended up starting my first raised beds, and then I did that to that time I was off with her. I had that to myself, and then I also helped her, and then she died last September. Oh, man, and then I started school this August, and things just really progressed extremely fast.
Progressed in which way?
The progress is which I'm growing it's just nonstop. Like I started with 8 raised beds, then the next grow season I had 12, and then I started this growing season with 50 something.
What?
Yeah.
You have 50 raised beds? How big are they?
They are just under 12 square feet. It's like 11.7 square feet per bed. 25. Well, right now I think I'm sitting at 70. Not really. So I started the growing season with 50, and I'm now sitting at like 75.
Are you a madman?
Oh, extremely. I don't do anything with a small. I go, we got chickens, and I have, pictures if that's something that you'd be interested in me sharing.
I want to see what 70 raised beds looks like. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I have pictures back from 2020 when I started, and I did this before, the whole, before they pushed the lockdowns and all that. Gotcha. It really was just like, it's just another thing until they went crazy with it. And then I went into like self, reflection, looking at myself, my weight, looking at what's in our foods, all the known carcinogens and everything like that. And it really pushed me. And then I figured out what I want, why I want it, and how I'm going to do it.
Dude, I think that's great for someone your age. Like barely had anything together. When I was 21, I was still like, I kind of, I don't know. I was about ready to quit school, and I went off to work in Yellowstone when I was 21. And it was pretty cool. I did it for a month, and I'm like, I don't really care for the working part. I just wanted to be in Yellowstone.
Yeah. And if
so
you would have asked me, 3-4 years ago, what I was going to do, it was, I don't know. I had no idea, no plan. I guess it was just some generic aspect of engineering or computer science, when honestly, I can't stand computers. I don't have patience for computers. I don't care to learn about computers.
Okay.
And I even built my own PC. I don't care to know anything more than that.
Sure. Yeah, you explored that avenue, and then you're like, all right, I understand it, I got it, and then on to something else.
Yeah, a lot of it really though came from the sole aspiration of money and income, and you can't base your life on that. You'll burn out, and it's just not fun. Find what you love and make money doing it.
Absolutely. So you took a break from school and then went back to school in August.
So I did dual enrollment. So I started college while I was in high school, which I made unnecessarily difficult for myself. I still managed to swing my way into college. Didn't change my habits of studying or doing the work, and then I just kind of fizzled out of that, and then ended up graduating. Just barely squeezed in that December 2019 deadline to be a 2019 graduate. And then I took, from December 2019 until August of this year, I took out of school. The last bit of last year around, August and September, I was like, my plan was to go to our family land in Adairsville with like a 2-man tent and my chickens, and live in a tent, and from February to October build me a log cabin. That you have 8 months. If I can't build a house in 8 months, I'm useless. And so I knew I could have done it, but the parents were like, no, you're not doing that. You can't do that. We're not going to, my grandmother wasn't going to let me use the land for that. And so I pivoted to school so that I can use that school to then get up there. They kind of put that, barrier in front of me. And since I started, I love it. I have taken it, I've ran with it, and I just keep getting crazier.
So what's your major? What are you majoring in?
It's horticulture science. I'm taking the horticulture program.
Are there what kind of things do they teach in horticulture science?
So horticulture science is one of my classes this semester, and it's your basics. It's the function of a flower. What is a flower? How does the flower work? You have and all kind of runs together. So it's horticulture science, woody plant identification, and soils. Those are my 3 that I kind of stuck with, so I could then, also kind of work a little bit. And so, like, the shape of a leaf. So, like, what is a leaf? The different shapes of leaves. So, like, a nandina bush?
No.
You don't know what a nandina is? Like little red berries?
I'll look it up.
Okay.
Nandina bush?
Or just nandina. Or like a pecan or a tree like that. If you look at the leaf, you think the leaf is just a singular, regular leaf, but it's not. The leaf is the whole structure that comes out from the tree branch. So it has like 8 leaflets on it, but it's considered one leaf. Okay. But with a nandina, I think it's like a tripinnate leaf. If you look that up, you should be able to see what I'm talking about. It's a tripinnate compound. So it's a tripinnate. It's one leaf is So
Okay.
it's just, this right here, that's one leaf.
Okay, interesting.
So it's just stuff like that. And then it's, soil, how to test for soil. A lot of it is really, kind of geared toward industrial agriculture. So that's what a lot of it is tailored to, like if you're row cropping and you have a hard pan, and how you bust up that hard pan, like compacting the stuff like that, erosion, how to deal with that like in your farm. And then next semester I'm going to kind of dive into landscape more. But I'm just taking the basics and the foundation from everything I'm learning to use that in a more regenerative way, in a more self-sustaining way than salt-based fertilizers.
Okay.
That because mostly all industrial fertilizer is salt-based, and so you'll use the nutrients that's been bound to the salt, but the salt still stays in your soil.
Is that bad though?
At a certain point, you'll have too much salt in the ground and it can't grow. So
okay,
I don't exactly remember my PowerPoints from like verbatim, but it's like saltinization.
I was briefly listening to a podcast today about the Johnson Sioux bio. Oh man, I'm gonna screw it up. Like compost maker thingy that they have, and it said something about salt when they were first starting it. There was like something like too much salt in their compost, but like by the time it finished, like the salt wasn't high. It was just normal.
And that's one thing I don't know enough about is compost and the cycle of compost. I know we go over it in soils. It's not entirely in depth because compost is complicated in its own right. There's a simple way of, just doing it, but then actually understanding it. Like I put in the private chat that salinization, it's a process which is water soluble salts accumulate in the soil. And then over time, it just builds up and it just becomes less usable.
Okay.
And there's a lot of stuff in my PowerPoints that my teachers made, because that's what he does. He has like a 100-acre farm that he row crops on, and he takes his stuff to farmers markets. But I'm looking at just not row cropping because the pressure you put on your soil through your tractor, the tilling, and you can no-till with row cropping. You just direct seed it in so many places.
Sure.
But the amount of space you can get out of that field you row crop on, it is, in my opinion, wasted in like a homestead, scale, or just any regular scale.
I think in the Johnson Sioux people that were talking who like developed it, if I remember correctly, that there was a particular fungi that grew like in the soil that ate up the salt or absorbed the salt or like bound up the salt, and so that's where all the salt went in their system, if I remember correctly.
That's neat.
Yeah, fungi's neat.
Yeah, it's incredible if you look at how some of that works.
Yeah, some people are absolutely crazy about like different fungus, and like there was a guy just yesterday I saw like on TikTok. He's like all these dumb things that we do with our house. Like, why do they'll basically just dump water into like a big tank and then put it down like through like a bunch of pipes into like what would be like the leach field, or if you're in the city,
you're talking
septic? Dump it down the drain. Yes, septic.
Okay, yeah.
And then insulation, like what's it made out of fiberglass? Like you could be making your own mycelium something or other, and use that as the insulation in the walls of your house. Like it's pretty easy. And
I just think a lot of that probably just stops at being able to do that on a mass scale. It's just, I feel like that'd be
I think you're
difficult.
Right. But why does everything have to be at a mass scale, I guess?
I mean, that's a good question. That just seems to be the way everything we have is all kind of centered around
mass production
and industrializing, which everything's been so centralized. You know, our farming, our distribution, everything is so centralized, and it's so weak. I mean, we saw everything with the lockdowns. They shut the world down, and we're still feeling the after effects from that. And just how weak our supply chain is, which is why more people need to do this. You know, it's grow your own food, whether it's one singular tomato plant, it doesn't matter. Like back in the Great Depression, they had, their victory gardens where they grew their own food. And after World War II, they kind of stopped that because, there was a grocery store around every corner. So then your big pantries started to fade out that you cycle through every year. And it just became a little closet in your house with just some food.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if on one hand, like there's got to be like a balance for, mass production. Like, is it just because, if we just do things at like a huge scale, it's more profitable that way? Or like, no, to break even on certain things, like we have to do it at this scale. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, my personal opinion with that is the government gets involved, and anything they get involved with, they complicate, they mess up, they screw up. It doesn't make anything faster. Like with farming subsidies, we covered that a little bit. And from what I've understood from my teacher, with his experience with it and what he's telling us is it's not worth it. You're paid to grow corn and then till it under and not sell it.
Right.
So you're basically paying people to keep the corn supply down so you can control the pricing. That's just what it seems like to me.
Do you have your photos pulled up and available?
I do, yeah.
Let's go through some of those.
So this is February 3rd, 2020. So at some point I ended up with four 330 gallon IBC totes. And because I started watching like Self-Sufficient Me, and he's in Australia, and he just has this huge, incredible raised bed garden.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't feel like digging in our ground because we live on a hill. It's rocks, it's clay. I didn't feel like digging in that, and I didn't feel like growing in that because it just wasn't worth it. And then I just didn't have enough space. So I don't know where the idea came from, whether it was me, my dad, but these ended up at the house, and I cut them in half. So that's them cut in half, and then I took 4, and then I added 8. So that was my first growing season, was just 8. And then I just went out and just started cutting trees down to make room for shade or in the sun. Mm-hmm. And then I just went from there. I just decided one afternoon these trees needed to go, and they went.
You're using an axe to do it all?
I did.
Nice.
I just like, these got to go, and so I just go at them, and then that's what it was for a full growing season. When I first started, I just took seeds and I put them in the ground. I put 3 or 4 seeds in each hole. I didn't thin anything out. I just planted. So there's about 12 peppers right here.
Okay.
And I didn't thin them out the entire time. They just grew, and they did unnecessarily good. They shouldn't have done as good as they did, being 15 plants in under 12 square feet of garden space.
Right. It's almost like square foot gardening level, like condensed. Yeah.
And then, mind you, I only get 3 hours of full sun. So, that's why I feel like this is what I was meant to do, because anything I seem to try to grow just honestly grows without much problem. And
what do you use to fill the raised beds?
So, after I raked everything out and had that square, we went, and my dad said we could go get some dirt from the lake where the Corps of Engineers has to dredge, Lake Allatoona. And so we went and we got that, which I didn't know then, which I only found this out a couple, weeks ago, is that it's actually bad dirt. You would think coming from the bottom of the river, it'd have minerals and stuff in it. Well, it doesn't. It's a sandy, silt, acidic soil. So that's what I grew in my first year. I did add, bags of Miracle-Gro and compost to it. And then that's just what it was my first growing season. And then that October, we built a chicken coop.
Nice.
Like I said, I don't do anything small. So we used this repurposed material from my dad's work, and we built this awesome. It's not even it's a mobile chicken coop. It's not a chicken tractor.
Dude, it looks really nice.
It really is. And that's some of the that's how I originally started filling my beds, until I realized this is expensive. Too much to have to fill.
Go back one slide. I'm gonna count really quick for people.
It's about 2 dozen.
It's 2 dozen bags.
It's about 2 dozen bags.
It's like 3 cubic yards. No, right?
I think in each bag, yes.
3. Okay, just to give people an idea. So it's like the back of like a, I don't know, like a Honda.
A Toyota Sequoia. It's slap full. All the seats are down, and I just threw them in. That's hilarious. By the time I was done, I'm looking at my car, and it's just kind of sagging in the back a little bit, and I'm like, it's never done that. So I came home, I piled them up there, and then kind of added that to, some of the stuff. And these 2 trees right here, they had a storm and they got knocked down.
I see that, yeah.
I saw that as an opportunity to expand. And so that's what I did. And
so it looks like the ground got wet or something like that. Then you had heavy winds and the trees started getting ripped up out of the ground.
They just came up and out. And then that's more of the coop. And then that's just cutting it down. And then, first year I direct sowed everything. Second year I started all my seeds indoors. That was my corn.
Nice.
Everything I just did inside with regular just dirt that I got, basically bulk. And then this is those 8 beds from just a nice, cleaner, area.
Mm-hmm. They're getting full now. I see, like, you topped them off. Like they're a lot more full. They're higher to the rim.
And then I took apart a deck because I just, being at home, you just get bored. And so I just took our deck off because it needed to be repaired. Okay. And so I just used those boards, screwed them together, and added more raised beds. And then I threw up a greenhouse.
So the boards are going to rot, and then who cares?
Well, they did. Well, they're pressure treated, so they're still there. And I've kind of shifted things around. Some of them I think I just threw away. And then it's just, this is still, and I just, I didn't age my chicken. That stuff came from my chicken coop. I just threw it all straight in bed. That's one of my figs.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I've worried about it burning the plants?
No, I never did. I've never aged it. I just took it, threw it in, and it did fine. And this is what I thought would have been a good idea was, trying to grow in the greenhouse like this. I think I put 3 yards of dirt in there and raked it all out.
Looks like you layered it with cardboard too to prevent.
I did the bottom with cardboard, and then so this was May of 2021. So this was the next year. I decided to readjust how everything laid out. So we, cut the stumps down to the ground, and we pulled them together with a truck and a chain, and then just reformatted everything so I could use the space better. And I did.
Forgive my ignorance. What is that in the foreground on the right there? Those are like a squash or a zucchini or something?
Yeah, okay, yeah, those are all yellow crooked neck squash. And the second year I grew them, I trellised them up these green poles. So they just had, and it worked very well. They just had stalks by the time it was done with. I just kind of kept them all, the green clustered up to the top. Didn't really have much of any problem with powdery mildew.
Can you go back one more slide?
Yeah.
So you've got these cinder blocks in between these. So for those listening, so he's got the IBC totes cut in half. He's got a bunch of those, and then he has like these, looks like 2x8s, maybe, I don't know, 12 feet long, maybe 2 feet wide, as for like raised beds, and it looks like tomatoes are growing in them, but to space, there's like cinder blocks spaced between the raised bed rows. What are those for?
Yeah, so those are just 80-pound landscaping bricks that I just threw at the end, and then I filled that up with mulch so I could have my pathways. And then when that
you use it as an end cap.
Yeah, I use it as an end cap so nothing just flowed out. Eventually, I just got rid of that and just mulched the whole thing. Everything just had 6 inches of mulch.
Oh wow, nice.
And like right here where that board is right there, that was for the same thing.
Okay.
And that's it from the back.
How are you? Where are you getting your mulch from and your wood chips? Just local like tree trimming services?
No, we actually made it all. I don't know exactly what we were doing, but at some point we had either a tree fall. We've had to rent a chipper several times, and then we ended up breaking down and buying one last year or this year. And then this is what I did with the greenhouse is I planted tomatoes all the way down. And
you got a favorite kind or just a variety?
I think all of these were cherry tomatoes. Majority of them were Amish paste because I figured we'd use them to can. And then that is the truck I used to bring in my dirt to fill up my totes. It fit about 1 yard at a time.
Nice.
And then I would shovel.
What is it, like a little Dodge or something like that?
Yeah, it's like I think it's a Dodge. Forgot the name of it.
That's funny. I mean, it's filled right to the top. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, and because they'll just go for, I get contractor price now, but they'll just scoop a whole bucket full and then just dump it in the back of the truck. I'll unload all of it. I'll go back maybe 2 or 3 more times depending on how much dirt I need. And here you can see a very good description of how I did my squash. You used to see them kind of growing up that little pole.
Yeah.
Instead of them laying on the ground.
Looks like a tree.
Yeah, it does. Which it worked for me. I wouldn't do it again just because when they're laying on the ground, they have different roots that come down and establish where they can intake more water and nutrients. And if something happens, like with vine borers, they won't get completely knocked out because it has more than one, roots, more than one way for roots to stem down.
That makes sense.
And then here I am. I ended the growing season. In my second year, I was having a problem estimating, when to keep letting stuff grow. So I ended up cutting my growing season in July. I just ripped everything out and I said, all right, it's time to flip the beds and add more dirt. And that's what I did. And then right here you can see I just filled everything up the rest of the way with wood chips.
Mm-hmm. And when you say flip the beds, what does that mean?
Okay, so I literally, and looking at this now, I realized it was a waste of time, and it was just ridiculous. I dug to the bottom of every bed in each corner and basically flipped the dirt. I dug to the bottom of one, and then I dug to the bottom of the other, and then I dug to the bottom of every corner of every tote and literally mixed the dirt in.
What at the time, what did you think that was going to do for you?
I would say, so the original soil we used was, silty, sandy silt. And
from the river.
From the river. and then I've added other bags of stuff, and I just figured it would kind of mix all in together. And so the way I fill these is I'll add about halfway with wood, and then I'll fill it in with leaves and sticks, and like basically hugelkultur, but just not as, you know, it's just in a tote.
Okay. Yep.
And it, you know, I enjoyed it because it gave me something to do. Like, you can see how the corners are lower than some of the other sides.
Yep.
And then I fill them all the way up to the top.
Oh wow, yeah, they're right to the top.
And
so
that was my expansion.
Gotcha. So you got another 2, 4, like 6 IBC totes cut in half for another 12 beds.
Well, not exactly. I think with these is, so with the 330 gallons, you can cut them in half directly. And so with these, like, so the ones I filled in over here, I just use the tops and put them over here because these all have like metal and plastic pallets on the bottom with a drain you can turn on and off.
Oh, okay. Nice. I was going to ask about the IBC totes. Do you like have holes in the bottom of them for any drainage? So like it's not just getting like, you know.
Yeah. So the first ones, I went all out. I drilled a 3-inch hole in every corner and then unscrewed the lid on the tops. And it's like, okay, that's it. That was too difficult, too much time. So I did it again. I just unscrewed the lids off. I've got this giant, probably like 60, 70 pound metal spike, and I just stabbed holes in the bottom of them. And then I just threw them in. The wood at the bottom kind of helps, the water go down over time. As that breaks down, I still think it will drain out enough through the bottom. It should be fine. I haven't had any problems with the ones that are just flat on the ground, but with the ones that are on the pallet, if you don't leave that open and you get rain and forget about it, the bed will get full of water and drown your asparagus.
Right. Yeah, we've got some like like wine barrels like cut in half on the front porch, and they got overwatered, and I mean it was like soup in there. I'm like, why do these flowers look terrible? And I pulled back the mulch, and it was I don't know, whatever worse than mud is, but that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was
I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You like run out the bottom of the barrel, like it just like stained the porch and everything. And then
there's an example of how I fill up the bottom.
Okay, it's pretty packed full of wood. Is it dry or is it already rotted?
It's whatever I have at my access. It could be fresh wood we cut up from a pine, oak, whatever. I think these last beds I filled up, there was someone who cut this gigantic, probably maybe 100-year-old oak down because it was just in their front yard. And then they had all the wood piled up at the road. Well, I stopped. I filled my trailer full of wood, and then I came home and I put those in some of my newest beds.
With your garden beds, I don't know how it's been for you. So this year I didn't turn my bed at all, and let's see, it was like maybe a month into the growing season, and I pulled back some of the mulch, and I'm like, what is this white stuff in the soil? And people are like, dude, that's like mycelium. Like that's what you want in your.
I have so much of that in my bed.
Yeah,
I have some beds. One bed that was just slapped full of it. The whole thing was just
the whole thing.
The whole thing. You could date it was all over. And I didn't really know if that was like what it was. If it was a bad fungus, a good fungus, infection in the dirt. I had no idea. I didn't care. I left it alone, said it'll sort itself out. Either nothing will grow or it will, and I don't care. I just really didn't pay much attention to it, and then just kind of kept on going. And so
what is this grassy stuff?
Okay, so like the kind of questions you gave me, just like preemptively was like, what was one of your biggest failures? And that was what I was going to use as an example for that is
okay.
This greenhouse was overall a failure because of, I planted all these tomatoes in the greenhouse all the way down, grew the seeds inside, do the tomatoes. They started to bloom, flower. They got huge, but I didn't leave the door open so they could get pollinated.
Oh.
So they didn't do anything. And then after all my beds were at rest, after this growing season, I think we're in 2021. This is my second growing season, and I figured, well, I don't really want to just leave it open to the elements. I figured I'll do a cover crop. So I picked winter rye, and so all my beds just had grass in them. And it looked great. It was really cool. It was
sort
stupid.
of sod farm.
It was exactly what it ended up being.
And
it's
like the thickest grass of all time.
Yeah, it really it was great. But then we got those trees cleared. If you can see how completely different it is now.
Yep.
I added more.
This looks like the winter.
Yeah, it is, and that I added more toads.
Dude, what you could do with that winter rye is you could cut chunks out and sell it to people in apartments for their pets to poop on.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't think about that. I ended up eventually breaking down, letting all my chickens out, and they went to town on them. And then, I kid you not, when summer came, I cut them all down to the ground with scissors.
You didn't borrow like a weed whacker or anything?
That would have been the easy way to do it.
You know what? If I was 21, I would probably do it with scissors too, just because
And these are the logs I use from our goat's pasture from a tree we cut to fill up those. And then I got more dirt to fill up the 10 totes I added. So I went from 12 to here, added 10, so that's 22. And then I kept going. And then I filled up all the ones in the back.
Nice.
And then I added even more.
Where are you sourcing these? For people that want to use IBC totes, where do you source them?
As long as you're not in North Georgia, I encourage you to go and get all these you can get. So they did come from my dad's work. They would sit them out and they would just stay there. And he brought some home, and then I'd be like, he'd bring some home every time they got available. And then it just became a problem.
What kind of industry, what kind of industry is your dad in? That
it was, well, he's a machinist.
Sometimes I heard you can get stuff from the Coke facility, like Coca-Cola or something.
Well, he's a machinist by trade. So where he worked at was an automotive plant, and in these totes some of them had hydraulic fluid, some of them had eco coolant, which is a water-soluble, water-based hydraulic fluid. And so with the ones that had hydraulic fluid, I wash them out, use soap, scrub them down. When I get tired or they're good enough, I'll throw dirt in there. And then some people, I haven't really had much breakdown of the toads after 3 years. They're still kicking. The chemicals inside, I feel like by the time they got absorbed into the soil, absorbed into the plant, absorbed into the fruit, and then absorbed into you, would be so minuscule, it wouldn't be any different than eating a bag of chips. But again, a lot of that will just get washed through the beds as it rains and I water it.
Right. I've also heard that not everything the plant will absorb. If it doesn't need, a certain mineral, it's not going to take that mineral. Yeah. It's not just it's here, so I have to eat it.
Yeah. And that does that through the ketonic exchange, if my memory serves me right from school.
Ketonic exchange. Sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy. And then our neighbor had a bunch of pine trees taken down, so I just took those, cut them up, filled up those new beds that I replaced. The 2 long beds that had the tomatoes in, I put 3 right there. And then I'm like, I need trellises. I need to go vertical. And so we get I buy cattle panels. I run in T-post, and then I put these nice cattle panels over. Really proud of how those came out. That ended up helping me produce 125 pounds of cucumbers from 20 plants.
Nice.
And this is the back right here on this front row to the left. We have asparagus. I've got about 60 asparagus in those totes, probably overplanted. But again, the goal is to just, with these over here, is to store them. It's not their permanent home. They're not there to be production. They're there so they don't die.
Okay.
And then so
when they take like 3 years to actually start producing.
Yeah. So I bought 2-year-old crowns. I bought 2 purple variety and 2 green variety. And so they're just kind of chilling, overcrowded. They did great. They produced a whole lot better this year. I didn't harvest from them on their 3rd year. I'll probably take a little bit off of them next year. And then like these 16 blueberry bushes in the 3rd row, I got from Lowe's from clearance. That was like my first taste of Lowe's clearance, which is now so much worse. And then, so I had my little figs. Okay, so after school one day, I figured, is there a Lowe's nearby? Because I'll just go check their clearance. Well, they had 53 blueberry bushes on their clearance rack. And I'm like, I don't need these, do I? And I ended up needing them. So I walk out the door. I asked the lady at checkout, and what would you take if I wanted to buy all 50 blueberry bushes right now? Because they were $16 a piece. On clearance, they would have been $8. And she says, well, let me call a manager. And then, well, this Lowe's has MST. They're green shirts. I love them. They're my favorite people in the world now. But they called over this guy, older guy, store supervisor, store owner. I don't know. That's the vibe I got from him, and that's kind of what one of them said. And I asked him, well, will you take? I took all 50 of them right now. And he said 4. And I said 3. And he said $3.75. And I didn't need them. So I was like, oh, $3.50. And he says, no, I can't do 50. He's like, I can't go lower than $3.50. And he says, all right, take them. He kind of begrudgingly did it. But I got a $16 blueberry bush for $3.50. These things are fine. And so that started it. And then I just kept going back and back and back every Tuesday after I get a 100 on my test. I go to Lowe's and come home with plants. I've come home with 50 blackberry bushes for $1 a piece, 15 birds of paradise for $1 a piece, a 9-foot tall crabapple tree for $20. It was $115. I got a bunch of lilies, just so many things. And then I got like a bunch of landscaping stuff, like a mugo pines, different types of junipers in like 4-gallon pots. They were like $70. I got for 10.
Wow.
So yeah, I've essentially gotten $6,000 worth of plants from Lowe's for only about $600.
Dang, dude, that's a nice flex.
It really is.
Are you gonna start your own nursery or something?
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna do almost anything that can be imagined. I'm gonna do it. So nursery production, landscaping, everything. So like with these birds of paradise, they were busting out of their pots. They were so bad. If I had a picture, I would pull it up. But it was crazy. It was extremely crazy. So I'm going to cut them in quarters and then repot them. And then I can sell them for like $10 each. I've already sold 4 of them. I've already made my money back on them.
Nice.
And so, but if I could sell them one plant for $10 a piece, that's $40 for a plant I paid $1 for.
Right.
So, and then I can make my money back on those birds of paradise alone. But I also got 21 hibiscus trees that are, that can do good from zone 6 to 10. and I got those for $1.42 each. So those are $26 plants I got for $1.42. And they're perennial.
So
they'll come back next year.
Why do you even have a job?
Well, because I haven't sold them yet.
That's Buzz.
And so
that's a buzz.
Yeah, right here is I started getting these from my work. So the place I was getting them from my dad's, he changed job. The guy we were getting them from, or the place we're getting them from, one of the guys there ended up doing his own version of this, which was a complete waste of 20 of these things. But again, there was 20 there, and we just had to go get them and bring them home. That would have been 40 beds. But he came with his 20-foot trailer, loaded them all up, and they just disappeared. And so I'm like, so I had a lot of just no growth. Then I get a job, and they get 3 to 4 of these things every week, which is food grade adhesive glue. Okay. And so I start bringing these home. And so I start, because these are 275 gallon instead of 330 gallon. Mm-hmm. So with the 330 gallons, you have an even 6 squares, but on these you only have 5. So you can't get 2 full-size totes. You only get partial totes. So I was like, okay, I'm like, these all can't be together. I need different separate sections I can put these. I've got my section that just go flat on the ground. I've got the ones that are on pallets, and then I've got these little minis. And so I just start putting them around my figs because they don't need that much. They're not going to get in the way. And then I proceeded to put more back there, more up front. I ended up, after I mulched the walkway, I ended up sleeping out there a couple nights underneath in between, these beans right here and underneath.
That's a nice shot. That's like sleeping like cowboy camping?
I mean, I slept on the ground in a sleeping bag. That's the first thing I saw when I woke up.
So nothing above you. Yeah, that's cowboy camping.
Yeah, okay.
That's nice. They're like not in the tent, essentially.
Yeah. No, it's right there in the middle of that pathway. I just, threw down a pillow, a camping bag, and I just slept.
Dude, I bet all that mulch underneath you is actually like a pretty nice cushion, like better than any sleeping pad I've had bought at REI or something.
It's not terrible. The thing about it is it's at a slant. So I was kind of sleeping downward the whole night, like with my feet just kind of I feel like it's like a slide. I didn't move, but it was just like I couldn't really keep my head on the pillow. But it was great. It was just so much fun. And
what about did you was there condensation on your sleeping bag when you woke up? I feel like my sleeping bag would be wet.
No, because this was in May. Okay. So there wasn't much. This is this growing season. I started my first with 8, second with 12. My third, I started with 30 in my main section. I didn't include the section in the back because I didn't keep up with that as well. These are some of the first things I started to get.
Nice. That is an odd looking. I don't even know what that is. What is that white thing?
The squash. It's a patty pan squash. They're actually really good. I don't know exactly how you cook them. I just kind of cut it up into cubes and stir fry them. It was kind of sweet. Yeah, I mean it's good for a stir fry squash.
That looks very funny.
And those are my cucumbers trellis. I wish I had a picture where the cucumbers are in full because it was magic.
Are you consuming all this food, or do you sell it, or just give it away?
So I ended up growing 120 pounds of cucumbers, and I canned majority of them. I ended up canning 12 gallons of my great-grandmother's sweet pickle recipe.
Oh, wow.
So that's 12 times 5 because it's 5 pounds, 5 to 7 pounds per gallon jar. I think it's 7. So 84 crazy. Pounds of cucumbers I pickled, and then I did dill pickles on top of that.
Wow.
And then I started adding more in the back. I just kept going and kept going, and I just keep getting. Those are some of my cucumbers, tomatoes.
Nice.
These are the cucumbers I pickled.
Excellent. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
You got, yep. You got six gallon jars there.
Yes.
Some eggplant. Nice.
And I don't like eggplant. I grew it just to grow it. I had to cook it the worst way possible. I may try a different variety next year. These were Black Beauty. They were gross. I'm not a fan. I did eggplant parmesan. I put a lot of time into making that for it to be extremely disappointing. And that is my profile picture for this.
Yeah.
It's the best, most aesthetic basket that I picked this year. That carrot was actually in the middle of one of my blueberry beds where I have never planted a carrot in any of those ever.
Good.
And it came up.
That's great. What's that one on the left that looks kind of like funky? Like it looks super wide. It's a cucumber.
Okay, that cucumber. So that's two of them grew from the same bloom together.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Yeah, I had a couple that did that, and then that's after I pulled all my cucumbers down, and I just threw them all in the walkway. I'm gonna separate my tomatoes. I just took those down Wednesday, and so I'm gonna take those, put those in a separate pile to cut down on just disease. Take it. I would like to till it in, but I don't really want to just compound disease and for future seasons.
Sure. So are you going to give all of those leaves to your chickens or just let them break down right there?
No, I took them out, and then I've got a tote that's about halfway full of just dirt, kitchen scraps, plants that died I just threw in there. And so I'm just going to kind of use that, and just everything's just going to break down to that bed. And then I'll probably bury something if it dies in there, and then have that process, all the bugs and insects. That's one thing, that's sad about farming is when you lose an animal. But one of the things is when you see all the bugs come out of the woodwork to decompose it, things you've never seen before. It's a part of the ecosystem, but it's just really cool to watch them work.
Absolutely.
And so,
So some of those totes are a little yellow. Was there something like in there before, like that turned them yellow, or that's
that was one of the, I think, active glue, and it kind of left a yellow hinge. Some of them have like flaky stuff that can come off.
Okay.
Nothing real and the ones that did, I kind of scraped off as much as I could. Again, what I would like to do with these totes is when I get them moved, dump everything out of them, dirt and all, and then rearrange them. And some of them I want to do in like a raised bed grow house. So back here. So what I want to do with this is take those totes, set them out one, and then like the smaller cut totes that are like maybe 2-3 feet high, set those in the middle, and then add another cattle panel that extends up here. So it's 2 16-foot cattle panels, and then take one that goes down. And so there I can trellis cucumbers up the middle, and then I can tie tomatoes down the sides. And then I can put greenhouse plastic over the top. So I can start them in February. They're growing good in, April, take it off. They're already, a month and a half ahead. And then I can go ahead and start a second planting so I can get basically 2 crops from the same bed. And then in the fall, I just throw the tarp back on, plant carrots, cabbages, broccoli, and just do all that underneath the plastic.
Gotcha. So you just make your own greenhouse essentially instead of buying a kit.
Yeah. So,
nice.
And I still want to buy several of those giant kits, like those Farmer's Friend 100-foot, 16-foot wide green grow houses, because I just can't. I just would love to do that. But again, each of these beds are like 3.8 feet long. So I have 30 of them. I can put, 2 rows of 15, and then you've got 45 feet already.
Do you have to amend your soil with anything every year, or what do you use to prep your beds for the season?
So every year, so far that I've come up to, most of them have been new, fresh beds. Every year, I have more new beds than old beds, almost.
Okay.
And so with my oldest beds, these two up front right here, my first ones, their soil's still great. It's still full of worms, full of life. What I try to do is in the winter, add leaves and stuff on top.
Yep, same.
I don't really want to do any heavy wood chips because it doesn't really break down as fast. I would maybe do that once everything's planted, and so it has more, in the summer heat, and it has more activity underneath it, would break it down more than doing that in the winter. And so far, I haven't had any problems with deficiencies. Since I've started, I've never had any problem with blossom end rot on tomatoes, which doesn't just come from calcium deficiency, but it's also inconsistency in water. So like you don't water them like on a schedule, too much, not enough. It's just it varies so much. That's another thing that can give them end rot, but I haven't had any problems like that.
Stop right there.
Right here?
Yeah, what's that bushy one?
This right here?
Yep.
Those are cannas. I got on this app, it's Neighbors, and this lady was trying to get rid of a bunch of cannas. And so cannas are an edible flower. You can eat the rhizome and you can eat the leaves. And so I figure that's something that I'll have. They're pretty, but then if I ever need to, I can eat them or wanted to. And so I dug up 2 trash bags full of them, and then I broke them off, separated them, took the good ones, the bad dirt, and then I just planted them all in that.
That sounds pretty interesting. I've never. Do they flower, or do they just like make big leaves?
They do.
Canna flower. Okay. Oh yeah, those are pretty.
Yeah, and I like some of these variegated ones right here. I actually dug up some of those last month, so I have some of those now.
Oh, cool. Bengal tiger canna lily plants. Are they all of the lily family?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I was just curious. The leaves look cool.
These are the pictures of all the birds of paradise in my car. When I get
that's in your car. That's packed.
Yeah, it's in my car. Those are all the blackberries in the back of my car. Nice. I had 50 of them back there.
Wow.
And then I put the 50 blueberries in these 2 beds right here. I cut the cannas down and moved them into one of the shorter beds out front. And so I just kind of left their foliage there. That was just a placeholder. These are German irises that I got from a friend. These are 2 beds of lilies I got from Lowe's. And then this is some fuzzy applewood mint that I got from my great-grandmother's home. Some of the last bit of it, I have kind of brought that back, and I have a surplus of it now. And then these are some of the landscaping plants I got from Lowe's.
So now you're landscaping your parents' place.
Well, not exactly. I would like to get paid for the plants and then my time installing them. So we're gonna see what happens. Some of them I'll probably use up at my grandmother's house for erosion. She has a bad spot that really needs something put back there.
Right.
And then that's those are the hibiscus, and then these are the again birds of paradise, and just have them all there. They're now in my greenhouse. Oh, those are pigs. This is what? All right. So that is my greenhouse. I set another one up because I had about 3 at the same time. I'm
still on the pig picture. I don't know if it's
okay.
It's frozen or something like that.
I had a picture of a greenhouse. So yes, these are the pigs. There's quite a bit of story to these pigs. I wasn't, I was never told I could have a pig, but I got this one right here in the middle. It's an Ossabaw. It was introduced to an island off the coast of Georgia in, I think, 1527. And I was like, well, I need one. Because when is the next chance I'm just going to, have one available to me, 30 minutes away. So I got him. And then, funny enough, one of my classmates at school ended up buying 2 pigs from the same person. But they're these 2 right here, these 2 pink ones.
Yep.
And so she lived within city limits. The city found out because one of her relatives reported them. And then they said, you got to get them gone by then. So I kind of waited. She was trying to sell them. But I just kind of waited till the last minute. And then I just swooped in and got them for nothing. and then so I go back to the guy because he needs help, because they just bought the oldest house. Well, they didn't just buy. They own the oldest house. They fixed it up in Case Springs, the oldest house in Floyd County. And, they fixed up beautiful house. But they wanted some bush hog work done. I bought a DR push mower.
Okay.
Wonderful. It says it's something you can't cut grass taller than 8 inches. I've cut grass 4 feet tall with it. I love it. It says you can cut a tree. It's 2.5 inches. I've cut a tree that's like 4 inches. You just start at the top and you slowly gear your way down. So I did about 2 hours worth of work for him. And then I left with 4 pigs.
I like your pig pen, by the way, in case. So he's got IBC totes and stacked too high and like making like a perimeter around these pigs. And that's his pig pen.
Yeah, that was my last minute pen I threw together. I have 34 of these just sitting. They were sitting in a giant cube. I had them stacked 3 tall. If you know how to hold these things right, you can pick them up and you can toss them however you want to.
Sure.
And so I had these stacked 3 tall. So I kind of deconstructed the cube, spread them out, and then made a pen. And so the pen is actually bigger than this now because I slid the wall over another whole tote because I keep bringing them home from work.
So and slowly expand.
Yeah. And what I'll do is I actually traded 4 totes for a tent, a like 14 by 14 canvas tent.
Oh, nice.
That's and so I get these totes for free. Okay. He asked me, what he would do to trade it, for some totes for his tent because they just got a new building. I said, I'd let him go for $75 a piece. And he says, okay, how many you do it? I said, I could do 3 or 4. He said, can you do 4? I said, yeah, I'll do 4. So I pick him up from work at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday.
Well, they don't fit in your Toyota.
No, I have a trailer. I can stack 6 on my trailer. I actually have a picture. I'll see if I can send it to my Discord and then I can pull it up because it's truly a sight to see. Just the way I have these stacked. It's ridiculous.
I can go ahead and hide this for a second if you want to go find it. So go ahead and it was 6 a.m. or something like that, and you picked up your
it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and I go and pick these up, and then I go straight to his house in Case Springs. I don't go home, I don't go to school. I go straight to his house in Case Springs, and I go and unload them, and then I pick up this tent, and then I'm home free. So I end up going to class with this gigantic, I think it's like 14. I guess, I think it's 14 by 14.
That's a good size.
It's a good size, and it comes with a furnace. like a furnace to do indoors.
Yeah, like a small like a wood burning stove.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
inside with like a I've looked at them before because it'd
Yeah.
be cool to
He
own
bought
and have all the property and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he bought one. He bought it for like $2,000, and I ended up getting it for free. I mean, the time it took in gas to go get it and then come back.
That's
And
really good deal.
it really was. It was a steal, and he didn't question me on it, and he didn't bargain. He didn't try to push for more. I was like, that's on you.
That's crazy. Cause like, yeah, those totes, like I see them online for like, I don't know, average probably like $100 a piece. And you gave up 4 of them for a $2,000 tent. That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, granted the tent was used for 2 years straight. I still didn't have to pay for it. So
the canvas itself might be a little weathered, and
maybe a little bit, but not
have
enough.
You opened it up? Like, is it?
I've actually walked inside it when he had it open.
Okay.
So he was the day I was there to bush hog, which I sent some pictures. I ended up sending it to your Telegram because that was the easiest way for me to send it.
Sure.
And so if you want to pull those up, you can show all those pictures, and then I can talk about them. And
okay.
And so he walks me through, shows me all this. I was like, give me a price on it. If I would just want to buy it, what would you do? And I don't know what it is with these guys. They're great people, but they just want to. That was the bird of paradise when I took it out of the pot. That's how bound it was. So I
it's like all root.
Yeah, and it's all new growth and new leaves. So I just sawed that into 4 quarters and slapped them in new pots.
Oh.
And then that was some of the bush hog work I did for him.
So that's that machine that you said that you bought, the
DR mower.
DR.
Yeah. Great little machine. I bought that with 4 hours on it for $2,000. A brand new one would have cost me like $3,600 with shipping.
Oof. Dang, you're really going to town. That's like
and all of that, all the way like into the barn. It was like all the way. It was that tall, all the way into the barn.
And this is the guys that bought like his super old house or something.
Yeah, they bought the oldest house, the oldest standing house in Floyd County, and fixed it.
I can't believe. Look at all that overgrowth. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was just insane, and that wasn't even his yard. He paid me to bush hog someone else's yard because he wanted to try to move that building to his property because they gave it to him.
Huh. Okay. It just looks like a bunch of tin. I mean, I like scrap tin. I mean, there's thousands of pieces.
It's a really good building. The inside of it, if you go back one picture, super sturdy posts. Those go into the ground. They're concrete. The tin is put together with nails. I was like, we're not going to be able to move this. My idea was to, I guess, cut all of the posts off, attach them on like some type of ski or skid, and like pull it with a tractor. And then at that point, you'd have to do so much cross bracing. It wouldn't be worth the time and money. You're going to have to pay me to move it.
Right. So what happened to the building?
It's still there. It's just standing.
Oh, okay.
So I did all that, and that's the tent.
Oh, nice.
I love it. I love it because
did it come with that canopy or awning too?
It comes with the canopy.
Sweet.
And so that like really plays into me wanting to just go live in a tent in 8 months, build a house. Except I don't have to build a house now because I've got a tent.
There you go. Dude, if I was, I'd be doing exactly what you're doing. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And then that's it finished. And again, this only took me 2 hours. I was there to go for 4. And we just kind of settled up. And
so you got 4 pigs for 2 hours worth of work.
Well, yeah, and I still got 2 more hours I'm going to do with them.
Okay. I got you.
But then again, see that through them, I've made a connection because they know a mushroom farmer in Atlanta who goes through like 60 mushroom bricks a week. So if I can get his number, I will drive to Atlanta every week to get those used mushroom bricks that are like mulch. And then I'm just going to brick my path, like in between my toes. I'm just going to brick them. It's going to be compressed wood chip mushroom bricks. See, the thing about the mushroom he gets, they'll grow mushroom. So you'll just have lion's mane mushrooms just growing in the middle of your walkway.
What's a used mushroom brick? Like they grow mushrooms and use it for what? And then it's spent?
Yeah. So it's like in this plastic case. So like a bag of cedar chips you'll get at like a Tractor Supply.
Yeah.
Well, it's that, but the size of a shoebox. And it's got like soy husk and stuff in it. And it's into this plastic brick. You cut holes in it. You put your mushroom sample in, and then it grows like production scale mushroom farm.
Okay.
So say you want lion's mane, you put the lion's mane culture in there, and it just grows a brick of mushrooms. And then when they're spent, they're not like production standard, but you take them, you break them up, you put them on new fresh mulch, mushrooms are going to grow. And that's, as that breaks down, that's going to be an incredible compost. Just incredible.
I was going to say the soil is just going to it's going to be like more valuable than gold.
It really would be. And that's another picture of the pigs when I first brought them home. Because again, I put these in the back of my car. So I had 4 pigs in the back of my car. Then went to the school fall festival. And then I sold some, birds of paradise to a girl from class. And then did like a little plant swap. And then that's how I stacked the totes on my trailer.
That's like the tiniest trailer, but you make it work. I love it.
I do. And the thing is they were being pulled on an even smaller trailer that I overloaded with too much dirt, and I blew the wall off the tire because it just it just kind of broke, like the wire inside the tire came deformed.
Dang.
And so then we got this, the wheel and axle on these are from like a mobile home trailer, so we can hold, if I'm not mistaken, 8,000 pounds. So I've tested it and it works.
Look like it holds 10 or 8,000 pounds.
Yeah. I've put 4 yards of dirt on that trailer. I've, lined cattle panels up, and I've slapped it full and then brought that home and shoveled it out.
Wow. That's crazy. So this took quite the turn. I love it. No, this is fantastic. Let's pick like 2 or 3 questions.
Okay.
So after all of that, what's been the biggest challenge in like gardening that you faced? I guess like homesteading, because I would say like homesteading, because there's like the garden and I'm gardening and pickling, and you got.
I wouldn't say I'm homesteading. I would just say it's like a hobby farm, because in my opinion, to homestead you need to be self-sufficient in some aspect, more than just what I've done. I've got chickens, I've got pigs now with like the last 2 months. But I've got like 36 chickens. I've got 12 goats. They're just kind of pets. The chickens lay eggs. I'm growing them out, and then they're gonna end up getting processed because I've hatched some out. They're gonna be replaced, and we're building a chicken plucker. But I still don't think we're at that level of homestead yet, because everything's just kind of on hiatus. So if it was, there'd be like 6 trees taken down, I'd be getting 12 hours of sun. There'd be 120 raised beds in the yard if it were me. So, but I would have to say the hardest challenge for me is myself, because I don't do anything at a reasonable entry level. I just do it. I go all in. I go all the way. Like when we first got chickens, again, I got 2 dozen chickens for $7.50 a piece. We ended up driving an hour and a half to get them, and met this crazy guy. Everything is always something. And then I did these raised beds. I have 70 of them now with 60 on standby.
60 on standby. Oh man, you really are insane.
Yes.
What what is it like this that this just like scratches your itch, I guess, the gardening and stuff? Like why are you giving it like 100% all the time? Like what does it for you?
So for me, it's my end goal. I know we stated before, I don't know if we were live or not, but it kind of got me into it is after my like during the period where I started after high school and with my Nana on hospice, I started to like reflect at myself and look at myself. I'm like, I was pushing a weight I didn't appreciate, which was 310. And then I started talking to a buddy of mine in Oklahoma, and he says, "Man, you gotta lose weight." And I'm like, "You're right, I do." So I start, intermittent fasting, just cut a whole meal out. It's unnecessary. It's an easy way to cut your calories. And then I started reading the backs of ingredients, words you can't pronounce, that you learn to pronounce, that you come to find out is a known carcinogen, in your log cabin your log cabin syrup, carcinogens,
Right.
Pop-Tarts, junk food. And then so I start cutting this stuff out. I cut out fast food. I cut out soda. Just stop. I lose 40 pounds. And so I really reflect on that is I want to grow food, not only vegetables, but production, chicken, beef, in a way that's eco-friendly, I guess you could put it an easy way, a sustainable way that you can kind of do it all within yourself, on the same farm, in the same place. And not only but for myself, but for my future spouse and my future children, because I want them to grow up with food they saw, they helped grow, that's pure and not overly processed. As simply processed as it can be. If it has a seed and if it's made of meat, we're going to eat it.
That's crazy. So how come you're thinking that like the pigs and the goats are just like pets?
Well, I've always kind of grown up around the goats. My dad did it when they had their chicken houses, and we just kind of stuck with it. And when they moved to where we're at now, they're just always there, keep the pasture down. We haven't eaten them. They're not dairy goats. It's Boer, Savannah, Kiko. They're all meat breeds. We'll occasionally sell them. When we get, when we breed them yearly, we'll find homes for them to get eaten at. And the pigs, well, they were really unexpected, a really unexpected downfall that I kind of fell into.
Yeah.
And like this morning, we actually took 2 of the pigs to a buddy of mine at work. He had these 2 huge, maybe 200, 250 potbelly pigs. They're 6 times the size of pigs that I gave him. And we just even swapped. And so we're actually going to butcher those out tomorrow morning and get hopefully a couple 100 pounds of pork for nothing.
Wow, that's pretty insane. 2 more questions. So then what's the best part? Is it all like everything?
Yeah, everything. I would say everything is the best part. To sum it up simply, the satisfaction of seeing the seed you planted grow, just everything. It's great. You can't be any better. Even in the failures, it's great.
Even in the failures. That's true. Like, wow, I didn't know that. I learned. And that sucked to learn that, but now I know. I learned that. What would you tell people that want to get started?
Do it. Get up, go out, build something. Especially for younger men my age, 21, 18, whatever. If you're in a funk, go build something. Create something better than yourself. You're made to build. Go build.
Perfect. I love that. Since we skipped the entire intro, let's just do it right now.
I'm good with that.
All right. What's your style?
Random, insane, crazy. Fly by the seat of your pants. That is what I do 24/7. Is I just fly by the seat of the pants.
There you go. I think that's more my style too. Like I have an outline of like for like questions because like, you know, sometimes people need a little help like getting the answers like pulled out of them. Because they'll give very short like 2-sentence answers. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna stretch this
Yeah,
out
my
an hour or
my
something?
whole thing was feel like I was probably gonna talk way too much, and I didn't rant on as long as I thought I would, but I feel like I did fine.
You did fantastic. I think the pictures helped you specifically a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, I loved watching like seeing all the pictures and stuff. There's like a good like visual aid. But it all like if I was in your spot, it would help like keep me moving. Like
yeah, it helped me. It
yeah.
helped me stay on track. But then again, it's very hard to describe some of the things I've done, on a timeline without examples. Because I started by going out one day, deciding to cut trees down, rake the ground, throw down garden beds, and then that snowballed into so much more that you really can't explain by just talking without getting completely off track, which we did anyway.
Yeah, that's true. We did anyways. I got one last question that I thought of. So I know how you got into it, but where did you start learning?
I don't know. I just did. I would have to
You
say
started
majority of
doing?
it came from YouTube. If I had a question, I'd look it up. So again, Self-Sufficient Me, all your top YouTubers, M.I. Gardner, Epic Gardening, Charles Dowling, all of them, just Justin Rhodes, all like your big main core people. I just started watching them, and then I just started doing, building, creating, and it has spiraled out of control since.
You should. Do you post a bunch on Instagram, or is it kind of like the occasional thing on Twitter?
I haven't posted really anything on Twitter, but I'm going to start. I know I do on my Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to hopefully start posting more and more. And as closer and closer as we get to moving to, my great grandmother's home place, back to that, I'm going to fully document that, because that's always been my plan, is to document for me. And if people want to watch it, cool. But YouTube and other these platforms are such good places to just store chronological events through video. And that's what I plan on doing from day one, stepping grounds, letting goats clear out all the brush that's growing up around the house, around all the trees, from landscaping to fencing to developing the whole property, from bees to chickens to everything, to flowers to vegetables, just the whole thing. I fully intend on recording it and uploading all that at some point. It's just a matter of when.
That sounds like an incredible like journey and like process, and it'd be really cool to watch the whole, from start to finish, which obviously will take years, but
it will be a very long process. But when I'm let off my restrictive leash, things are gonna get done fast.
Perfect.
Because again, like, there's only so much I can do here. We have a limited backyard. We've got 5 acres. Not hardly any sun. Again, I'm growing all of this stuff I've shown you on 3 hours of sun. It's, full, and I'm talking direct sun. Cucumbers, tomatoes, it says grow 6 hours direct sun. I've got half that, and I'm still producing these, great vegetables, which is a part of me feels like this is what I was born to do. I was born to grow things, and that's why I've really gone into it all the way.
Awesome. Well, I will have a link to your Twitter and your Instagram. You provided me with that stuff, so I'll have a link for that in the show notes. And I just want to say thank you for your time. This is awesome, and
thank you for yours. I really enjoyed it. It was great.
Keep kicking ass, dude. I look forward to seeing what else you put out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. Wow, I learned a lot talking with Grant tonight. He is very impressive and just full of energy. Thanks for watching, everyone. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share this video. You can check us out on Fountain FM podcast player, or, one of those lesser podcast players. Check it out, fountain.fm, if you want to download it. Check out our website, farmhoplife.com. You can sign up for an email list or Telegram channel there to be notified when new videos, interviews, and podcasts are available. We are on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, MeWe, and Float. Email me anytime, matt@farmhoplife.com. You can check out our 20 by 23 program. We're going to visit 20 homesteads in the year 2023. farmhoplife.com/20x23. And I'm always looking for new people to interview. If you want to come on to talk about homesteading, farming, food security, homeschooling, regenerative agriculture, alternative building methods, or something else, pitch me an idea. Go to farmhoplife.com/guest. Go feed yourself.
Inside of the city, the people are crazy, out of their minds, they ain't got a clue. We gone away, headed west for Montana, left family and friends, all I got now is you. We both got new jobs, a house and a homestead, thinking this was the life, all that there'd be. After our firstborn, you had to stay home. That's when the work got in the way for me. Well, I started Farm Hop Life. We'll come to your farm to help and to wander. Me and the family, a truck and an RV. Send us a message and